Wahrscheinlich kommt es schon, also das ist fast verloren. Dann können wir vielleicht
Jaya Master to Sata His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Grandaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Janitai Gauda Premanande Samaveda Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembly devotees. All glories to the assembly devotees. All glories to the assembly devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Shri Prabhupada. So good morning everyone for today's Srimad Bhagavatam class. We're going to continue from the 5th canto, chapter 3, entitled Rishabhadev's Appearance, and this is text 9. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Jaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nastapeshu Bhakteshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. So we still have the long meter in the verses, and I'm just going to read the Sanskrit, then we go to the word. Tatyata Parishanam Svayam. Can we have some light here? Please turn on the light, please. Much better. Tatyata Parishanam Svayam Atmana Sheya Param Avidusham Parama Parama Purusha Pakasha Kunayaya Swamahimatnam Apavagakyam Upakalpaishyan Svayam Napochita Evitaravat Ihopalakshita Tat That Yata
as
Balishanam of the foods Svayam by yourself Atmanaha own Shreya welfare Param ultimate Avidusham of persons who do not know Parama Purusha O Lord of Lords Prakasha Karunaya by abundant causeless mercy Svahimanam your personal glory Cha and Apavaga Akyam called Apavaga liberation Upakalyaishyan desiring to give Svayam personally Naapachitaha not properly worshipped Eva although Itaravat like an ordinary person Iha here Upalakshita you are present and seen by us Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki
Jai Ho.
O Lord of Lords, we are completely ignorant of the execution of Dharma, Artha, Karma and Moksha, the process of liberation, because we do not actually know the God of life. You have appeared personally before us like a person soliciting worship, but actually you are present here just so we can see you. You have come out of your abundant and causeless mercy in order to serve our purpose our interest and give us the benefit of your personal glory, called Apavaga, liberation. You have come, although you are not properly worshipped by us due to our ignorance. Purport. Lord Vishnu was personally present at the sacrificial arena, but this does not mean that he had any interest in his own personal benefit. Similarly, the Archa Vigraha, the deity in the temple, is present for the same purpose. Out of his causeless mercy, the Supreme Personality of Godhead presents himself before us so that we can see him. Since we have no transcendental vision, we cannot see the spiritual Satchit Ananda Vigraha of the Lord. Therefore, out of his causeless mercy, he comes in a form we can see. We can only see material things like stone and wood, and therefore he accepts a form of stone and wood, and thus accepts our service in the temple. This is an exhibition of the Lord's causeless mercy. Although he has no interest in such things, in order to receive our loving service, he agrees to act as he does. We cannot actually offer suitable paraphernalia for the Lord's worship, because we are completely ignorant. It was out of his causeless mercy that the Lord appeared in the sacrificial arena of Maharaj Nabi. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Ajnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sakachatam Sagana Raghunatanvitam Dam Sachivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parichana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripe Vanchakalpa Tarupyascha Kripa Sindhupya Evacha Partitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Once again the verse. O Lord of Lords, we are completely ignorant of the execution of Dharma, Artha, Karma and Moksha, the process of liberation, because we do not actually know the goal of life. You have appeared personally before us like a person soliciting worship. But actually you are present here just so we can see you. You have come out of your abundant and causeless mercy in order to serve our purpose, our interest, and give us the benefit of your personal glory called Apavaga, liberation. You have come, although you are not properly worshipped by us due to our ignorance. Just give me a moment for the setup here. So once there was a very wealthy man. It was during the time when Krishna was still on the planet. And this man had the desire to build a huge temple, actually the biggest temple at that time. Now, when it came to the inauguration of the temple, he sent one of his messengers to Dwarka to invite Krishna to take part in the opening ceremony. Now, Krishna, he was very pleased by his devotees' endeavor, but he had to refuse. Because he said, I have already an invitation on that day. Because there's my devotee Krishna Das, he lives close to the Yamuna, and he has on the same day the inauguration of his temple. And that's actually a bigger temple than you are building. Now this man was confused. Because he did his research well, and there was no bigger temple at the time than what he constructed. No, he sent his ministers out into the world to find out where Krishna Das is building that temple. And he was inquiring about Krishna Das. And people, they referred him to the banks of the Yamuna, where one sadhu was sitting and meditating. No, it was for sure, this was Krishna Das. But where was the temple? So Krishna Das, he was building the temple of the heart. And actually by Krishna, he accepts our service. What he really is searching for is the essence. Therefore he is known as Baba Kahi Janardana. Janardana means the maintainer of the living entities. And he looks for the essence in whatever we are offering to him. What really attracts him is bhakti, love and devotion. So we are engaged in so many ways, but the internal motive or motivation is very important in what we do. And I thought I'm gonna dedicate this lecture today on the topic of intensifying our devotional service. And the presentation is based on a seminar which His Holiness Swami Bhagavan Keshava Swami was giving some time ago with the title Developing Intensity. So I just want to make this connection and reference. Now here at that section in the Bhagavatam, the priests, they're offering prayers. And they just performed a great sacrifice where Lord Vishnu appeared. So, which means all their endeavor was successful. The Lord appeared in the sacrificial arena and he gave the blessing which was requested, namely that March Navi gonna beget a son. But once the Lord appeared, the priests who performed the ceremony, they felt like some beggars, some very poor people. Because they were questioning the motive by which they addressed the Lord. They were thinking that we are without devotion. We were just doing all these rituals and the Lord appeared. So why did the Lord appear if our motive was not right? And the Lord himself, he gives the answer because he appears out of affection towards his devotees. The priests, when they recognized their position, they became very humble. And in that humble state of mind, they offered their prayers. And this was very attractive for Krishna. So out of that affection, he appeared. In the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, third chapter, text 10, a very famous verse, Akama Savakama Ma, Moksha Kama Daritihi, Tivrena Bhakti Yogena, Yacheta Purusham Param. In that verse, three categories of people are mentioned. Namely, Akama, those who don't have any desire, Savakama, those who are full of desires, and Mokshakama, those who desire liberation. Practically, this covers all living beings in existence. The Kami, the Jnani, and the Bhakta. The Bhakta is the one who is without desires. But Vishnuvat Chakravarti Thakur, he gives an interesting purport. He says, Akama doesn't mean desire less. A stands for Krishna, desiring for Krishna. Because the living entity cannot become desireless. The soul is full of desires. Unfortunately, when it's expressed in this world through the projection of the mind, it becomes a little bit distorted. But the soul is full of desire to serve and please Krishna. And that's the natural position which to the process of bhakti we want to come back to. Now, what is recommended in this verse, whatever your motivation is, freedom from desire, full of desires or desiring liberation, all of them should take to the process of bhakti. And they should not just perform bhakti in a casual way, but with intensity. In this verse we have the word tivrena. And Srila Prabhupada, in the word-by-word translation to this verse, he says with great power, with great intensity. Now there's a difference. If we want to boil some water and we put it on a flame, it takes some time until the water starts boiling. The heat is gradually increasing. Now, what happens if you turn the flame on and off all the time? Will the water start to boil? Most probably not, because it doesn't reach that point where it starts to boil. In the same way, our bhakti has to be performed with intensity, to be constantly in that fire, so that actually the process of purification takes place and we cultivate our higher desires, our higher purpose of transcendental loving service. So what is intensive devotional service? And to shed more light on this, we first want to look at what is casual devotional service. Casual means I'm comfortable. When I want, I do, but otherwise I have other things which are more important. And often it helps if you first focus on, so to say, the negative aspect to formulate the positive alternative. Because unfortunately our mind tends towards negativity. We are better in finding problems or seeing problems than finding the solutions. So therefore, let's make a little workshop out of that. Let's define certain aspects of casual devotional service. Devotional service which is not in the fire of bhakti, which is more like in our comfort zone. So what would you say, what are some aspects of casual devotional service? Yes?
If we do things repeatedly and we are not there with the mind, which is good mechanically.
Okay, so you're doing things but the mind is not connected, you just do it mechanically. What would be the difference if we rephrase this into intense devotional service?
To be present, for example, if we sing the songs in Arti, we could pray it, like really pray it, or we could just sing it and be somewhere else.
So to connect the mind with the activity, to be mindful. What else? What could be the casual devotional service?
You chant 16 rounds and when you have to put it aside and you are happy that you've done.
Okay, it's already achievement to chant 16 rounds, but just let's get it done. What would be?
Yeah, you should not chant only because of the duty, or because you promised it to the spiritual mind. You should chant with affection.
That's the key. Yeah? Intense devotional service would be to chant in a relationship where there is affection. Because when we are present in the relationship with Krishna, then Krishna is going to be present in the relationship with us. What else? What are other examples of casual devotional service?
I'm a vegetarian,
Mm.
and as long as it's vegetarian, I'll eat.
Okay, you eat everything as long as it's vegetarian, going to the supermarket, whatever they have vegetarian, that's good for me. What would be an approach in intense devotional service?
I only eat that which has been offered to Krishna Prasad.
To only accept Krishna Prasadam, that would be intense devotion. What else? Are you all beyond the stage of casual devotional service that you even don't remember what it means?
You cannot tell everything.
What about desires? We said the soul is full of desires, and to the mind it sometimes exhibited in a less favorable way. How can we relate that to casual devotional service?
Yeah, that we have desires for material things,
Mhm.
and sometimes we go to Krishna and then we express these desires to Krishna.
So we keep our material desires, but you say we go and express them to Krishna so that he fulfills them or that he purifies us from them?
That he fulfills them.
Okay, so we want our desires fulfilled. And what would be the rephrasing into intense devotional service?
That Krishna will purify me or take me away.
That Krishna may purify me, or that we desire for Krishna, for the pleasure of Krishna. So we are all on a journey in devotional service. There's a starting point, there's a goal, and we are somewhere in between. Which means if we don't have a higher goal and some goals in between, then maybe sometimes we're a little bit off the path and we actually don't recognize it. Because we didn't have to set a course properly. What else comes to your mind?
To do services as quick as possible.
Because we have so many other things to do which are maybe not directly related with Krishna. So let's get the service done so that I can do what I actually really want to do. How could we reframe that into intense devotion?
For me it was very wonderful when a senior devotee told me that actually every single item here is an expansion of Balaram, and that we'll come in contact with directly with Krishna actually, and then we do it very nicely. And also, this was like in my mind and my heart so often, like, do it very nicely, Srila Prabhupada, and your Guru wants us to do everything very nicely for Krishna. And so we know about disciple of Srila Prabhupada who tell that Srila Prabhupada didn't want them to wash the pots like this, but really wash Krishna's pots.
So intense bhakti would mean we know that everything is Krishna's energy, it's Krishna's property, and we have to take care properly of it and engage it again in Krishna's service. Any more thoughts from you? Okay. That's already, we have an understanding what's the difference between casual and intense devotion. Casual means, let's get it done and let's move on with something else. And intense means I'm really connected to what I'm doing. Because bhakti is always a matter of the heart. We can be busy in so many ways, but if the heart is not there, then Bhava Janatana, Krishna, he may accept the external, but what he's looking for is the devotion. And if this is missing, it's incomplete. Now, let's focus more on intensity, intense devotional service, because this is actually what we want to increase, and there may be different approaches to that. Let's first have a look at an external approach. What can we do externally to intensify our devotional service? What comes to your mind?
And to do more.
Focus on quantity, to do more. What could that mean?
Just to take up more services or serve others more. Search for services.
To take more services. It could also mean sometimes on special occasions we're going to chant more japa. It can mean that we spend a certain amount of time studying Srila Prabhupada's books. What else could be a practice of intensifying our devotion?
You have to be aware that you cannot separate Krishna from the devotees. That means you treat all devotees very nicely.
You see that everyone is a devotee of Krishna, and therefore you treat devotees nicely. So your focus is on relationships. So we spoke about quantity, what about quality? How can we intensify the quality of our service?
To be more absorbed.
To be more absorbed, to be more attentive.
To
What could that mean practically? What could we do in that regard? Let's use the example of japa. Okay, we are already committed to chanting 16 rounds. So how can we improve the quality of our japa?
By arranging place and time where we chant.
Exactly. So that we make it a regular practice. We have a place, we have a certain time slot where we're focusing on the chanting of the holy names. And this is going to increase our quality because we had made a clear commitment. So we said already, accepting more services could be approached as quantity. We see that also devotees, they go through a certain progression in the service. You start, services, they're all on the same level, but sometimes we see externally there's some differences. We may start with cleaning services, then we get more responsibility, and one day we start cooking for Krishna, then serving Krishna on the altar. So another category how we can intensify our devotional service externally would be to take more difficult services or to take more responsibility.
That's a difficult topic. If you have too much service, then you are disturbed and your conscience is not so very pure anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to solve this problem.
Mm-hmm. So you're addressing already a risk. If we doing more externally but don't have the proper internal motivation, then at one point it can just become too much. We're going to come back to that because that's very important to look at and understand and find some solutions to that. So do you think these external approaches, they are enough? Okay, they keep us engaged, but what about pleasing Krishna? So we have to add the internal cultivation of bhakti. We also have to intensify our internal mood. What could that mean? When you look into your heart, what could you do or what would help you to increase that intensity?
You have always to be aware why you do it.
Again?
You have always to be aware why you do it.
To be very clear, why are you doing it?
Yes.
To connect with the purpose.
To also know how urgent it actually is to do it.
To be aware about the urgency.
Yeah.
Urgency means that it has to be done, or in what kind of context do you see urgency?
That we have a limited time here and it's so precious.
Okay, it's more related to us, that to make proper use of our human form of life by being fully present in what we're doing. As we said, Krishna, he's Bhava Grahi Janadana. What he attracts is the bhav, our emotions, and what he's looking for is our spiritual emotions. And the acharyas, they give us a formula how to purchase Krishna. So Krishna, what he wants is our greed, our eagerness. And this is expressed to our enthusiasm. When we have such a strong attraction to Krishna that we cannot think about anything else than Krishna, then we will be very eager, very greedy to go deeper into our bhakti. So whenever we speak about external cultivation, we have to add the internal component. Because bhakti is a process of transformation. And transformation, often we think, oh, we have to do more. But transformation can also mean to do less. Right? To do less of the things which are not favorable for bhakti. Instead of constantly adding more and more and more, we focus more on the internal cultivation. Because we, within ourselves, we are complete. Nitya Siddha Krishna Bhakti, Krishna Prema, Satyakabhanaya. So we are eternal spiritual souls. Our constitutional position is to be an eternal servant of Krishna. What's the problem is that we have so many coverings on our heart, so that we're not aware of that we are forgetful of our real identity. Therefore, instead of adding more and more, sometimes we can also just focus on doing less of the things which are not favorable. And then we come closer to the core of our existence, from where these spiritual emotions become very natural. They're not artificial. We don't try to impose something on our mind. Because again, Krishna, he looks for the essence, and you cannot cheat Krishna. The tears we cry for Krishna, they have to come from the heart, not from chili. So both of them, they go together, our external and internal cultivation of bhakti. But the danger is, if you become so busy externally, without having developed the proper mindset or the proper internal mood, then at one point it can just become too much. Shri Jagannath Baladev Sudhamarani ki jai, Shri Govinda ki jai. So how do we cultivate that internal intensity? And it's mainly through the process of hearing and chanting. And this is something which we do on a regular basis, so that we stay in that fire, that the water going to start to boil. That's something which we do daily, because it gives us the proper perspective of life. We stay focused on our goal, and whatever we do, we're doing with the right motivation and attitude. But as it is dangerous to just focus on the external, it's also dangerous to just focus on the internal. Because bhakti needs expression. Love needs the vehicle of service to be fully expressed. So therefore, to remain enthusiastic, we have to give an external expression to our internal emotions which we cultivate in bhakti. And this is what it means to develop or to increase intensity in bhakti. To be engaged, but with the right motivation. And through the process of hearing and chanting, we gradually become there. And this may look different for different phases of life. Because bhakti is not a static process. It's a dynamic process, or it's an ecstatic process. And what worked at one point in our devotional service at a later time may need a different kind of approach or expression. For example, we have the 4 ashrams. What worked for a brahmachari may not work for a grihastha anymore, because the responsibilities they changed. But in one ashram, we developed the fundament to move forward in our life. Therefore, whenever we have a shift, when we move on to a new responsibility, then that's a graduation. We accomplished one phase of life, and now with that experience, we can go to the next. This is the system which Krishna set up, so that at the end of life, our heart became purified and our love for Krishna has been properly developed in a healthy way. That's very important that we see the difference in how we apply the process of bhakti. While you're here in the temple, and all of you either staying full-time or staying for a prolonged time, that's a great opportunity to build a proper fundament for our development in Krishna consciousness. Because it doesn't matter where you are and what you do, life always gifts you with new responsibilities. And these are opportunities for us to grow, to develop. But for this we need the proper facilities to do that. And this is today what we cultivate, so that tomorrow we can be in that position. So therefore, while we're here, we should make the best, the best use of our time. The temple is a very easy place to cultivate bhakti. because you just have to follow the flow. The schedule is every day the same. You just have to be there. And not just with the body, but with the mind and the heart. To stay in that fire of bhakti. Because whatever we build up here, whatever we learn, we're going to use in later phases of life. I feel very fortunate that I had that opportunity to spend a few years in the ashram, because I can see how it helps me nowadays to continue and cultivate my spiritual life. Here we have the association of devotees, and they are lifting us up. They're taking us every day at the hand and saying, come, let's go to the program. At home there's no one. You have to have that spirit within you. It has to become a desire to continue to develop your spiritual practice. No one will hold you responsible. It's that own responsibility which we have to cultivate. Why? We are in that association of devotees, and even if we move on at one point out of the ashram, it's still an opportunity for us to constantly or always reconnect. By staying close, by taking some responsibility, then our spiritual life will stay in that fire, will continue in that intensity. And this is something which we should reflect already today. Because for most of us, there may be a different phase of life. And even if it's not another ashram, then it's still old age is coming at one point. And whatever we have not cultivated in that years where we had the strength and the focus, then these later phases in life can become very difficult. So the time is now. The time is now to be in the fire of bhakti, to take advantage of the facilities we have today, so that we can give more and more expression of our devotion, which is actually that what is Krishna looking for. I'm going to stop here. We have a couple of minutes for comments, additions, some thoughts, reflections. Would you like to share something? Madame Chan,
you also read?
No.
You should. Okay. This night I had in a dream a darshan with my spiritual master, and it doesn't work. It's okay. And somebody told me earlier he wants to speak with you, and then I went to him, and then he said, should I tell you now a story? Yes, please. And then I listened to the story, but I have no clue what he told me anymore. But after he asked me, what is the conclusion of the story? And then I told him, in German of course, mit deinen Wünschen gestaltest du deine Zukunft.
Your desires, you develop the future.
I told to him, then of course, he said yes. And it came to my mind again, because we spoke about wishes, you know. You can intensify your bhakti if you're always aware what you wish, and if the wish is not on the right platform, you should reject it. And of course this was an instruction for me, and I know I have many wishes which are not connected with Krishna, but I think everybody has this.
Thank you for sharing. So to be really aware of our desires, and to always question if this is connected with Krishna, if it's pleasing to Krishna, and if not, to think twice if I really want to follow that desire now. Thank you for sharing. Any thoughts?
Some thoughts on the responsibility, taking up some responsibility. It tends to be that when there's some responsible service, there needs to be a matching upgrade of intensity. You need more qualification to do the service. So otherwise everything just caves in. So I was thinking of that also with getting taking up responsibility, then one also needs to take the responsibility to get the type of intense association that keeps you on the cutting edge. So some good peer association, that when you are around people that are also intense in their devotion, it brings it out of you, even if it's on an egotistic platform or just the natural competitive nature of peers, and ultimately just the nature of spirit is that it influences whatever inspires us, influences us. So yeah, there's some thoughts.
Thank you. Very nice point. Whenever we take more responsibility, we require an upgrade, and the most intense or direct way is to be in association of those who have that intensity. And it's good to have that peer environment. It doesn't have to be always the seniors. Sometimes it's good to have these peer relationships, because there are maybe deeper connections, deeper relationships happening where there's more intensity again involved. Thank you. Yes, question for Rupa.
I can very much relate to this. Once I remember I did a job along with his Grace Ravindra Swarup Prabhu, that time he was a GBC. And he kind of encouraged me, he said, you know, like in devotional life, we should always take up more responsibility. Basically every service just prepares you for the next service. And yeah, I guess it has to do with this, because if you take another service, then you have to upgrade, as Prabhu said. I also like the, you know, Tivrena Bhakti Yoga, the service should be, like Bhakti should be intense. But I like very much this whole understanding of, yes, sometimes we try to do it externally, but then actually every day we have Mangal Arti, every day we have the morning program, every day we decide whether I'm just kind of superficially floating on the surface and kind of wait until the time is over, there's time to prashadam, or whether I actually really make the best out of the program, like in the sense of really be conscious of what do I sing here. You know, I offer prayer to Tulsi Marani for eternal service in Vrindavan. I request Nishingdev protection, I try to chant. So that's kind of an intensity which, yeah, it doesn't cost extra. We don't have to do something extra in the sense of more time, or we anyway do it, but it just requires consciousness to be fixed. And I think this is a responsibility of those who live in ashram, to learn that art, to go internally deeper and deeper. I think that's also, if you don't do that, you can't stay long. I mean, I think that's personal experience, being around for some time here. I mean, if you don't do this, then at some point you wonder, why am I doing this? You know, I better sleep a little longer, singing the same song always.
That's the point of being externally engaged, but don't have the proper internal motivation. So that at one point you lose the goal out of sight. You don't know why I'm doing this anymore.
You can't do it. But if you take actually the opportunity to go deeper, then it becomes very wonderful.
And I like the first point you made, that each service is preparing us for a new responsibility. And I think that's the beauty of this process also. We're not getting stuck at one point. It's something which is dynamic, which goes step by step into different dimensions. And we have the 9 stages of bhakti. So they speak about how our love for Krishna develops. But what I feel like, at least in my case, it's more about how my faith is increasing. Because that love is for me still something which is far away, not experienced. But I can feel or experience how my faith in bhakti is increasing. And this is what you also said, that like, if you are conscious about the process, if you are consciously in the process, then this is like, it's almost like a side effect. We're doing our service, but what increases is our faith, because we're doing it with proper consciousness. Thank you. Anything else you would like to share? Yes, please.
Thank you so much for your lecture and also your comments. And yeah, I was actually also thinking about this point that if you become so busy externally without cultivating the process, it can become too much very easily. And I see in myself that my mind is always bringing up some new ideas, and sometimes I want to do more and more, but of course, as you told, it's not about doing more, it's about doing less things that disturbs us from cultivating this bhakti. But also we have to intensify, so how to find the balance really?
I give you an analogy, because in the area which I'm working, the topic of employee engagement is a very big topic, because the majority of people, they just bring the body to work, but not their mind, not their heart. So for how long can you do that? Therefore, we have so many problems in the workplaces. Therefore, burnout. Was this a topic like 40 years ago? No one spoke about that. Because people saw meaning and purpose in what they're doing. But nowadays, with this information overflow which we have, we became so distracted. Like, the human brain cannot process so much information which we consume every day. It's said that in our modern times, we consume in one day more information than like 60 years ago a person consumed in their whole lifetime. Because there was no internet. You had a newspaper and you had some books. And you had some prachapa in the village. But today we access the whole world in one instance. So we have a complete information overflow. And therefore it's very difficult to stay focused on one point. And it just becomes too much, and we don't know actually anymore what we're doing. So the same risk is there in bhakti. That we become so broad in our approach to bhakti that we cannot focus our energy on one service. Because how many services we can do parallel at one time? It's always one. Yeah. And I think book distribution is a good training for that. Because how many people can you approach at one time? It's just one. Maybe there's a couple, or maybe there's a small group. But when you look for interaction, it's always with one person. Like when I was in book distribution, I liked the big shopping streets, where hundreds of people just streaming towards you. I never liked the smaller places. Because I wanted to pick the people. But then I was once with Navina Nirada Prabhu. We were on book distribution in a very small village in Switzerland. And there was just one post office where you could meet people. And they came like, drops, not in flows, just some drops of people came from time to time. And I was Superman. I thought, where's my shopping street? Where are my hundreds of people? And then I observed him. He distributed on that one day 150 books in one afternoon. And I was just mental, and he focused just on one person. So in the same way, when we just focus on one activity, then we have that laser focus, that sharp intelligence. And from this, we build up our spiritual muscles so that we can take more responsibility. And with more responsibility comes more intensity. And more intensity means we can do more things parallel. Not simultaneous, but parallel. And therefore I stress the point, it's not always about doing more. sometimes it's about doing less and doing it with more quality. And from this we develop the capacity to actually to expand. Does it help? I don't know, maybe I lost the point also in your question.
No, it was very nice, thank you so much.
Okay.
Time is over.
Yeah, time is also over. Thank you very much for your attention, and I wish you a wonderful day in your Krishna consciousness. Kandarat Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Gaura Bhaktavinda Ki Jai.
I'm saying there's a class there I came. Class was like towards 9.
No.
No, I'm saying first time I came.
First time,
That day, yeah. So I was way over offending.
yeah, because you didn't know it.
But yeah, you should tell me.
Yeah, but not the first time. Second time I will tell you.
Okay, now I find out.
Donna. I'm stronger.
Yeah, focus. I wish, this focus is such a thing. When you're able to, when you can afford to. Sometimes it's like, there's so much so-called needfuls that it's just like, if you don't do that also then, yeah. But it's true, when you get to focus nicely, you get more out, yeah. The quality out of it. Yeah. Sometimes you need, the thing is we don't have the luxury of big teams. At least I don't. I find myself, like I'm here, I'm really in Swaziland and Lesotho. I have to try to make some programs. And I'm yeah, they're coming. None of my friends trying to come with us. He's also, yeah. And I also have the life here. There's some things I have to do. Yeah. I think the sun helps us at least that, there's some fuel in the tank.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's stop. Should I really pick it out? Going down. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, 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 Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, 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 Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare 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 Kr Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.